Evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Howdy, friends and neighbors, and those of you that aren't. Welcome to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue, and this is everyone. Welcome to the show. Aaron Morrow is here, our fearless mod. Check him out in there. If you have any problems, contact him in the chat. Everybody give a hand to him as well as Jeff Porter. Jeff's in the chat, I see very much. Jeff actually was integral in me getting the draft matrix done because Jeff does a ton of great work in the stats area that allowed me to do all the design work, get everything done, get it out the door. And if you guys missed it, it got released this morning. I'm pretty pumped about it. So please check that out. I want to give you guys an extra discount for all of you that are in the chat. Use the code RGR20 when you go to grab it at rogueapc.com. It's the Rogue Analytics draft guide. The athletic matrix is a smaller subset that's just the athleticism. This is all the graphic work, all the stat work, all of my custom metrics about how I go about deciding about prospects. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I want you to check it out and enjoy that. But it's also, I want to say this out loud so that everybody gets it and don't think that I'm some crazy analytics guy that the numbers are only thing. This goes with film. This goes with those guys who you buy draft guides from who crunch film all the time, like Dane Brugler, like the KC guys, like Eric Galco, like all those guys that you've heard me talk about over the years. It's great to put them side by side and see the differences. So please check that out. Let me know what you want to see next time. The teams get it probably this evening or tomorrow via email. They've gotten it before, so we'll hold our breath, right? But that's where it's at, and that's at rogueapc.com. If you're new to this channel, hey, by the way, I run this analytics company, but I'm here to talk about football, a lot of Chiefs, but also the draft and other teams as well. So welcome if you're not necessarily a Chiefs fan or you're just finding us. A lot going on. Super chats are open if you want to support the channel. Please hit the super chat, throw something in there. But if you do, make sure you ask a question so I can get you something for it right away. Update on memberships. The memberships are coming. Now that the draft guide is out of the way, I'll be working film as I finalize my draft board. Draft board release will be a couple days before the draft. Probably the Tuesday before the draft is when my draft board goes out. It'll be downloadable so you can grab it, print it out, follow along, do whatever you want with it. And then I'll be working on the memberships. It's tough being a one-man crew, but, it is what it is. Jeff's help really went a long way. Aaron's help goes a long way in here. So hope you guys are staying safe. Gooch is at it again. What's up, Gooch? Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And I will answer your question. I got to get back. Aaron asked me something earlier today. Bear with me while I jump back to him because I can't remember what it was, Aaron. Okay. What do you think about turning John Runyon into a center? I think it's an interesting I don't know that it'll work out, but I think it's worth giving a shot. I don't think you can rely on it, though. Andy talked last week, and if you missed the Locked On Chiefs podcast, make sure you jump over to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Stitcher or whatever. Subscribe over there. If you run Android, you can now get on Podcast Addict, and you can actually rate and review us on there, too. We love the iTunes reviews. But on there, on Locked On Chiefs last week, I went through Andy Reid's audio, and he actually talked about the fact that Andy Heck takes guys in. He likes the athletic guys, but he coaches almost all of them and gives them a shot at learning to play center. It's a really interesting way to go about it, and it covers your bases, gives you 5 best, right? That's the concept. So I really like that idea, and I think that definitely falls in line with what they want to do. So it certainly could be an option, Aaron. And we're starting to get stuff. And let me back up and make sure I get the questions. Aloha, everybody from Hawaii. I love getting Hawaiians on here. My buddy's down there right now. He lives on Oahu. And if you see Honolulu PD, be nice to him, will you? He doesn't like him when I do that, but hey, he's probably not watching anyway. Rob Mulliken got the first question. And folks, if you are new to the channel, hit that sub button, the bell notification so you know when we go live and everything else. Leave your comment below. If this is not live when you're watching, go ahead and just put your comments in there. But if you are in the chat right now and you're with us live, make sure that you put question marks at the beginning of your question. I'm going to, start answering things and I'll get behind. And so I have to always play catch up in the chat in order to try and find more questions. So I don't want to miss anything. So that really helps me. And as we go, who was first? Okay, so it was Rob Mulligan. Who's a late round draft pick that you're looking at? There's a couple of guys. I feel like they might find an offensive tackle in the first 100 picks, but I'm not banking on it. I think there's depth at the offensive line position. I think they have bigger fish to fry early. So I'm kind of looking at day 3 offensive linemen. One guy that I like is Shane Lemieux. He's not as athletic as the Chiefs usually like. He's out of Oregon, but he plays some nasty, and he's versatile. He fits their bill in terms of being able to do multiple things. Would I like a more effective athletic guy? Yes. And so if we move up a little bit from that, it would be Damian Lewis is a guy that I like from LSU. He'll probably be a 3rd rounder is my guess. Another late round pick, I like Amik Robertson. Small. I mean, real small. He's I think it's less than 5'8.5". Plays at La Tech. A smaller version of Gladney. And I think he belongs in the nickel, much like I think Gladney belongs in the nickel. But a guy that's feisty, a guy that fights for the ball, he understands routes, he's really instinctual, and he gets his hands on a lot of passes, at least at that level. He's not going to be an outside guy that you're going to start, but he's a guy that I think could come into Kansas City in particular and give them another option at nickel so they don't have to put Rashad Fenton in there. I still feel like Rashad Fenton's going to be better on the outside, but that's just me. You have Warden Breeland now with Breeland back in the fold, so you have the outsides covered. So I like a couple more, nickel guys. Stevie Keys, thank you for that. I hope nobody's disappointed in the Matrix. Brian Gooch, thank you for your super chat as always, Mr. Gooch. Is it looking better for a Jones extension? I think that the market has so dried up and teams are so concerned with how they're going to do this draft that I don't think there's a whole lot of them that are, really specifically looking at trading. And that's what it would have to be, a multiple pick deal for Chris Jones if they were going to trade out of it. Now, they could trade back. I do think that that's a relative possibility, but I do feel like the longer this goes on, the less the market is for Jones, the less he feels he'll get paid, even if he does go. And I think his agents are probably finding that the market's not as big as they thought either. So I think that does help his chances of coming back, Gooch. Thank you, as always, for the super chat and the support. I appreciate it, all of you guys. Steve Concepcion, what type of receivers does Andy look for? He wants speed. He wants guys that can separate. And he wants guys that will fight for a ball. He's not necessarily the possession-type receiver guy. That's why you see guys that go elsewhere and are successful, but that style doesn't fit. He wants to run. That's why Sammy's back, Hardman, Hill, everybody. They tried to bring Avant. Avant couldn't get it done. There are guys that can be jump ball guys, but Mike Evans isn't an Andy Reid type receiver. You know what I mean? You want to be able to turn the burners on and get loose. Nikki, how are you? Would you trade Chris Jones and a 6th in 2021 to the Jags for number 9 if Simmons falls to 9? Sure. That'd be a steal for the Jaguars. Wow. Yeah. I mean, for the Chiefs, it would be stealing from the Jaguars, getting a number 9 pick for Chris Jones and a 6th. Yeah, I don't think that would happen, but yes, I would do that. Okay. Oh, good Lord, you guys. Hitting the super chats already. Jake from State Farm. What's up, buddy? Does re-signing Breeland make safety a higher priority or cornerback? I still feel like you need a bit of both. Thornhill will probably be fine, but sometimes you get to training camp, and if you're coming off of an injury, you don't quite get back into it right away. So you're kind of delayed, which means Armani Watts has to play snaps. I'm fine with that. I like Armani. I think there's going to be some hiccups, but I think he'll get there. And I just put together that that's Jake Allig. Thanks, buddy. So I think they're about even. I think you could go, quote unquote, DB and take whoever's there. I won't be surprised if they like Delpit. I know he's got tackling issues. I know they are probably going to feel that they can get something out of him with Tyrann Mathieu. And I know that his versatility is going to intrigue the Chiefs quite a bit. Carlos, what's up, buddy? I don't know about, but I'm liking the linebacker. Forgot what school. Oh, but Murray can't remember his first name. Okay, Ken Murray. Yes, I agree with you, Carlos. I like Ken Murray too, and he's a little bit more well-rounded. He plays downhill, I think, better than Queen. He's a little bit stronger. He can take on blocks a little bit better, but not a lot. But he's instinctual about attacking the football in the run game, and I like that. I think he's a guy that can play all three downs, although he doesn't have the speed to get back or to run with running backs. He can get out to the flats and get them there, but if they turn up wheels and that kind of thing, that's not really his thing. He can play zone just fine. Honestly, it reminds me of Hitch. So there's a comparison. Dustin Sipes, thanks for your super chat donation. I appreciate that. Oh, and you don't even have a question. Okay, well, thanks, buddy. I thank you very much. If you come up with one, come back and let me know. Jeremy Green, you really think the Chiefs, with keeping Watkins, Robinson, you really think they keep Jones as well? I think that's the goal. I think that's what Brett Veach said. I think he's trying to live up to what he said. Keep as many of them as they possibly can. And it makes sense. You just won a Super Bowl. Why wouldn't you? It's a question of balancing the cap. And as this goes on, if Jones and his people, more importantly, if his representatives understand that they got to come off their price, it makes him more affordable and it makes it better for everybody. So I do feel that they still want to do it. If they can, I don't know. Oh, by the way, cheers to you guys. This is a Belgian triple I made. My favorite beaker glass. Mr. Gooch again. How are you, bud? Thank you again. I keep seeing Queen at 32. Select or trade back. I would take Queen at 32. I think that's a good value. He is a prototypical coverage linebacker. He can grow into the other things. I still think he needs some instinctual, exposure. He doesn't have the most snaps or whatever. I want to say he's like 600 or 800 behind Murray and Isaiah Simmons. So that tells you the experience level. But yeah, I definitely think I would do that. If he's not there, if he, Murray, and obviously Simmons will probably be gone. If they're not there and the corners that are first round grades aren't there, which right now I have 4, but this is where I'm going to crunch the rest of the tape and get everything lined up. And I'll have that in the draft board. But right now I have 4 that I would take 32. If they're all gone, then yeah, you got to look at trading back. Steve Concepcion, who is better at drafting, Veach or Dorsey? Veach, by a long shot. I only have to say one thing: Kavari Russell. There you go. But no, they're retaining 3 years later. 2 years later for Veach is a much better track record than Dorsey. Dorsey takes a lot of chances. Cole Kelleher, if Chiefs are thinking about picking a KU product in the 5th round, which one should they go look at the hardest? I think Denijay is probably the better prospect. And there's really only him and Kamara, the linebacker. But Kamara played edge. I think he's probably got to stand up and play outside linebacker. I think he's better suited for a 3-4 than the Chiefs 4-3. I think Denijay's a decent athlete. I'd love to see a Jayhawk on this roster. I don't know that they're going to see what they like because I think he's a little weak at the point of attack. I think he needs better anchor. His athleticism is what they like. But I think he is definitely a project. 5th, though, it could be another LDT. You never know what you're going to get. Great question, Cole. Firefighter Farmer, how are you, bud? Although highly unlikely, who would be the player you would see them trading up for? They feel that they can go to 24 and get Queen. I think they'd do it. I don't think I would, but that's me. I think if they could get to 15 and if Isaiah Simmons falls out of the top 10 and they feel they can get to 15 or 12 or whatever and get him, I think they might do it. I will not be surprised at any trade that Brett Veach does in terms of picks. When he likes a guy, he likes a guy, for better or worse. That's what happened, I feel, with both couple of guys, but in particular, Breland Speaks. When he really likes a guy and likes what he brings, he's going to do it. So I won't be surprised if it happens. I won't necessarily like it, especially if he'll likely have to give up a pick to get it done, but it's thin pickings right now. Lee, will the Chiefs select a safety first? You never know. Right now, they can go a number of ways because they got everything kind of shored up. They have enough corners to go to war with right now. It's very, very thin. There's no backups, in my opinion. But they have enough to get it done. So that kind of takes them, evens it out. Linebacker, corner, offensive line, safety, offensive tackle, even wide receiver. There's options. I think wide receivers are a really long shot right now. One name to keep an eye on is Antonio Golden-Gandy. I know they talked to him at the Combine, and I think he kind of fits what they like in terms of suddenness, and he'll be a day 3 pick. Curtis Douglas, what is the 32nd actually worth? What is the most you would not accept? I mean, trading for? I wouldn't trade back past 42. I want one of the top 10 picks in the second round, and I have to have a third round pick for it. That's my opinion. That's the deal that I'm driving for. What is, and I'm calling pick number 32 now, I'm calling it Love Hurts. Yeah, there's that old rock song, right? Because here's the thing. Pick 32, where the Chiefs are, where the Patriots have been quite a number of times over the last few years, is where all the value is for teams that want to grab a quarterback or a pass rusher that they don't want to have to give up on at 4 years or pay a new contract, because you can use a 5th-year option on pick number 32. So that really emphasizes teams that want to get ahead of the bad teams that are picking high in the second round and get that 5th-year option. So I think the 2 players that makes you want to trade up for is either Julian Love or Jalen Hertz. Those are the 2 quarterbacks that I think are probably second-round grades, but somebody might try to jump up and grab them ahead of a time. So I'm calling that Love Hertz, and I hope that they get something for it. Let's see. Will Mogan? Sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry, Will. Bryce Hall on the second at 63. I think that's about right. I think that's decent value. I can live with that. He's more of a zone corner than a man corner. I think that changes what Spags wants to do a little bit, but I do feel he wants to play more zone than he played last year, so I can get down with it. I think it's about fit, and I think that he's got enough of a fit that he can play a little bit of both. I think it's kind of a force multiplier that he's played with Juan Thornhill before, especially if you're talking about playing more cover 3, even cover 4, because he's got that close relationship with the safety behind him, and I think that's important. Oh, I missed that. Cole. Beforehand? I'm not sure what you mean. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure all this out. Zach Marr, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate the support. Really like Ricky Seals-Jones. Definitely, I am happy Sammy is back. Stay healthy and keep everyone in the family good. I appreciate that. We haven't left in 9 days, and I am the only one who has left the house since February. So we're doing pretty good. Yeah, my wife's got some things that I'm not comfortable with her leaving just in case she got exposed. I have a better tendency to fight that off, so that's what we're doing. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. Steve Concepcion, if you were picking the top 10, would you draft for need or best player available? If I'm picking in the top 10, there's plenty of need, and you got to take the best player available. So it's kind of both. But I mean, you can't just draft for best player, because best player might be a player that you have a starter at. You know, like if the Chiefs are drafting in the top 10 and you get to your pick and the best guy on the board is a quarterback, you're not picking him because you got Mahomes. So it does really fall to, it's got to be best player available at some position that can help you. That's really what it is. It's not just a blind, hey, he's the guy at the top of our board. Norman Schreck, how are you? If giving up the 32nd pick would get what do you get in return? Most likely, if you trade back, say, to the Jags at 41, is it? I think they're 9th. You can expect to get a pick in the 80s, maybe the 70s. I think they have 70, or that might be Miami. I've done some experiments about that, and I'll have a mock draft for you on Wednesday. Just keep an eye out for that. And I will definitely go all over trade scenarios. Dan Thompson, how are you, dude? Do you think that Clay Matthews would have any value to us in a 1-year contract? I really don't. I just don't see it. I haven't seen it for a couple of years since before he left Green Bay. I mean, I like what he does, but no, I don't think it's there anymore, man. And honestly, the money's just not justified with how little they have. They got to get something done with Chris Jones, one or the other, or they got to cut somebody just to pay for the draft class. Mr. Gooch, DOD get on the field more this year. I certainly hope so. I feel like if they get a true coverage linebacker, he's going to be a guy that plays Will and lets Hitch go into the middle, stay in the middle, and then he and Hitch would be out there in the nickel, which would kind of limit Dorian's possibilities. But they've played Ben Neiman a ton too, so that makes it kind of difficult. But I do feel that there is a way, especially if there's an injury, that Dorian O'Daniel can get on the field. Honestly, I'd like to see him take reps with Dan in the box and play some strong safety, because I think he's fast enough to do it. That's my thought. Great question, as always. Thank you, sir. Jorge Zaragoza, what do you think of Michael Pittman? He's on my list. I've selected him a couple of mocks in the past because I like the way he plays. He's not super fast, but I like how short area explosive he is, and I think that's something that could work. I don't think it's an Andy Reid pick. I don't think he's somebody that'll be high on their board. Sorry, guys, I got a sniffle. It's just bugging me tonight. Michael Uden, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a bit. Hope you're doing well, and everybody in the family is. Besides Love, is there any other first-round quarterbacks that teams could move up into the 32nd pick with a trade with KC? Juden, sorry. Okay. I think I was saying that right. Anyway. Yeah, the other one is Hertz. I think I talked about that a minute ago, but Jalen Hertz, I think, is really underrated. And I feel like somebody's going to want him. I won't be surprised if he goes ahead of Julian Love, and I won't be surprised if he goes to New England. I talked about that. I think I was on 810 a couple weeks ago and talked about the scenario where if you're Bill Belichick, and for all you Pats fans, both of you that are in the chat, if you're Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, and you want to draw as little comparison to what you've been in the past with Tom Brady, change the entire paradigm of your offense by taking a mobile quarterback, a guy that you can turn loose, and if all goes to crap, you can let him run. I think Jalen Hurts might be a good fit there. I don't know if they're prepared to do that. I think Josh McDaniels is okay. I think McMinney, his alter ego that was here in Denver for a while, I'm not sure he knows what to do with him. So that's the question mark. If that doesn't happen, then yes, I do feel that Jalen Hurts would be the other guy some team's going to want to come up and get. Jeremy Green, if they go linebacker in the first, do they then let Hitchens go? No, because they have no choice but to sign Jones, and they have no cap room. The reason they won't let Hitch go is because they don't save any money doing it. I think they save like $300,000. That's it. So no, it's not a solution to the problem. Do I think they'll extend him? No, but cutting him does them no good. So he will be here. He will be your starting middle linebacker. Caleb Landon, what will happen with Dorian O'Daniel? Hopefully he plays more. Like I said, I'd like to see him move over to strong safety and kind of give them a beefier option, because I think Spags wants to continue playing 3 safety sets. And if you have Thornhill who misses any time or is slow recovering from his knee or whatever, and you have Matthew that you want to play robber, if Thornhill's out, Matthew goes back, you got to have Watts back probably. Everybody kind of takes a step back where Matthew would probably play high, Sorensen would play the robber, and then you need somebody else in the box, and I think Dorian O'Daniel can do that as a strong safety in the box. Paul Dew, why does McShay think we need to take DeAndre Swift at 32? Because McShay is looking at it as DeAndre Swift is a first-round grade. Chiefs are the last pick. So there's probably he might have a or maybe two first-round pick grades on guys that are there at 32 and when he does his mocks. I think it's crazy. I mean, you guys know how I feel about running backs in the first round, period. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree more with Kuiper than him on that particular aspect. I just don't think that one running back in an era where you need a committee of running backs to play the game is worth taking in the first round. So, but if you have a first round grade on him, that's what McShay's doing. Good question, Paul. Cole Killer, how does the group of 6 wide receivers sound? Tyreek, DeMarcus, Byron, Sammy, McCole, and Jody Fortson. That's really close to what I see happening. I'm not 100% on it, but I think Fortson's going to make a push. There could be a draft pick in there. You got to remember that. And they also liked Fenton and Felton better last year. But I do like Jody Fortson. And I do feel like Byron is going to make the push to be the next DeMarcus Robinson. Yes, they got Robinson back on a 1-year contract. I think normally he would have been gone if it wasn't for the virus and everything. I think he would have gone somewhere else, gotten a contract. So it's just like it's delaying. It's just doing 2019 all over again. He's going to be gone probably next year. I think Byron will slide into that spot as the number 4 and so on and so forth. But yeah, I like that concept, Cole. Rob Mulligan, possibly a running back in first 2 rounds. At the very outset, at the second, it's 63. Somebody asked me, and I can't remember who it was. If you're on here, let me know. I think it was on Twitter, asked me about Cam Akers in the second at 63, and I can live with that. I don't know that I'd like it, although I like Akers, but I do feel like there's still going to be defensive talent that's better than him relatively. So that's kind of where I'm going to be. When you guys see my draft board, if you haven't been on the channel for a year, you'll see it. It's going to be horizontal, so you'll see, Swift is here, Akers is here. Well, there's probably in the second round at least 3 or 4 linebackers, corners, something that are still higher overall than Akers will be, but we'll see. Steven, do you think that Veach will trade up, down, or stay at 32? I think he will trade down. I think that's the most likely scenario. But I think he could move up too. I just don't think it's near as likely. Let's see. Michael Juden. How about linebackers from small schools like Akeem Davis-Gaither from App State or Damian Taylor from Colorado? I think those guys are both options. They are farther down my list, though. There's the top 3 in Isaiah Murray Queen. And then it comes into 2 guys that I go back and forth on. I like how well-rounded Malik Harrison's game is, but I like what Logan Wilson does. Logan Wilson's out of Wyoming, and he can play coverage. He's crafty. He had a great week at the Senior Bowl, which goes a long way with the Chiefs scouting staff. So I feel like that could be on their radar. If they want to take a true chance, I think Willie Gay, and Hood Mahomes is already asking me about Willie. I think he in the 3rd round is a better risk than what you're going to get out of Gaither. And I think Davian, probably a 4th rounder in my opinion. So if you haven't had to address it, then there's certainly viable options. I think the nice thing is that there's somebody probably in at least the first top 4 rounds that you can go with linebacker and feel okay. Carlos, if Queen is going by 32, would you spend a pick on Ken Murray or trade back and go to the best corner available? I would definitely take Murray. I would take Murray over Queen overall. So yes, definitely take Murray. That allows Hitch to go play Will, I think. I think Murray can be the guy in the middle, and I think it can be the guy in the nickel. So I'm happy with that. Terry Daly, will you be live during the draft? Yes. During the draft, I will be live on here. I don't know about syncing it, so I'm on satellite. where I live. So I will be watching it live, and I will be telling you what I think as we go, giving you feedback, not only on the picks themselves and how they fit their teams, but how they fit the Chiefs and what it's doing to the Chiefs' options. That is my plan. I'm trying to get some guests. That's one thing that I have to do this week or next week, is get all that, a different streaming software figured out so I can have guests on. Because what you've seen from me, like right now, this is just through the YouTube app. It's just me. I can't do anything else. It's just a camera. What you see when I have guests is a studio thing where you have to set that up ahead of time, get everybody invited. It's a little bit more, but it's not enough to do live broadcasts with other people. So I'm getting there. I will try it out. You'll at least have me. I'll try to have some others as well. Let's see. Thanks for asking, though, Terry. I totally forgot to remind everybody about that. Frederick Henley, thank you for your super chat. Thoughts on Carlos Ruiz at 32? I can definitely get down with Carlos Ruiz at 32 if he's there. And it's iffy. He might get taken in the what I call higher 20s, 25 to 28, something like that. I do feel he's a great interior offensive line. I think he's probably the best one here, although I like Matt Hennessy for a center very much as well. Both of them can probably go play guard from what I'm reading and hearing. So I'm okay with that. I like Hennessy's a little bit more athletic, but that's okay. I think Ruiz is enough. I just don't know if you want to spend a first-round pick on a center. So that's going to be a question of value. I probably won't have him as a first-round grade on my board because of positional value, not because there's anything wrong with him as a player, but just because center as a position as a first round, it's iffy for me. Brian Gooch, thank you again, as always. After bringing back LOZ, Chance Veach does Mahomes and Jones and scares the NFL for years. Hey, with the Legion of Zoom on board, and you just got to get Mahomes done. You can structure Jones in a way that allows you to either get out of it or restructure like they did with Frank Clarke. I think it's possible. I think if they feel if they have to part with Chris Jones, they have to get value. Otherwise, they want to keep him. And it's about, it's whack-a-mole. Who's going to have the highest salary in order to make room for Mahomes? But we also have to see what the CBA does next year as well. Hopefully, it creates more room. William Simpson, as far as edge rushers go, what guys do you like and in what round? And are we even looking for an edge? I think you're looking for a backup edge. I think they still feel like Alex Okafor is the guy that's going to start for them, and Tino Passanio is a guy that can play for them if they need him. So I think you're looking at more developmental guys. I don't think you're looking at a first rounder, maybe a second rounder, more likely a third or fourth is my thought. Sorry, let me shut that off. So the problem is the edge class sucks. And I mean, it's bad. There's no real speed rushers, which is the thing that the Chiefs would want to add if they wanted something different. If you want more power, there's some options available. Everyone's going to tell you about AJ Epinesa. I think he's a second-round pick all day. Somebody might pick him in the first, but I don't think so. I think he's a slower, less athletic guy than Agba. He needs to play inside from a 5 technique to a 3 technique. He does not belong on the edge. He plays with power rush only. And there's a few other guys that are like him. I like Anthony Jennings as a guy that can play off the edge, stand up, down, or whatever. He'll be a 4th rounder, maybe a 3rd rounder. He's out of Alabama. His teammate Lewis. I think Weaver is a 2nd-round grade. I think somebody will probably take him in the first, but I think he's a 2nd-round grade. He's from Boise State. I'm forgetting about somebody that can play the power DN spot and still is pretty athletic. In fact, he reminds me a little bit of Okafor, is Jason Strobridge. He needs to produce more, but he's got the athleticism, and I think that includes the strength, I think, to play the position. He's just got to produce more. I think he's a little bit on the younger side, and he needs more experience and more coaching. So there's a day 3 name to keep an eye on is Strobridge. Steve Concepcion, would you take Tua in the top 20? No, I would not. And I know this is going to be controversial, and a lot of you think are going to be crazy. Don't tune out. Let me explain. Tua's got issues. It's not just his hip. he's had like 5 lower extremity injuries in his college career. That's huge. And yes, the scariest one was the hip, but that's not the only one. So in terms of medical, I can't risk a first round pick. I can't risk a top 20 pick on a guy that might be washed out in 2 years. Yes, he's great. When you look at his production stats, he's the best one in the draft. I love his touchdown to interception ratio. It is just too much of a risk for me personally. If I'm a GM and I'm in the quarterback market, I would not risk that. That's where I stand on it. And with that, we'll lose however many people are Tua fans. Sorry, guys. Will Moggan, could you picture anyone else other than Mitch as the voice of the Chiefs? Love that guy, and he gets me hyped. Yeah, I can't see Mitch going anywhere, period. There's always somebody else that can bring their own flair to it. I'd like to work with Mitch, actually. I'd like to call a game with him. Try to add a little bit in there. I think that'd be fun. If everything goes to plan, I will be broadcasting probably at least every other game this coming season on a site called Hot Mic, which will link and sync to the game audio. So just pay attention to that one. Let's see. Who's next? Frederick Kenley again. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the super chat. Does the Washington edition suggest that they are less confident in Darrell Williams or Darwin Thompson? I don't think so. I think they haven't been able to get Darrell in the building, and they haven't been able to get their doctors on him. So I don't know if it's just a question mark. I mean, quite frankly, you want to have more than they had going into camp anyway. So I still feel like Damian, Darrell, Darwin is the order right now. Washington probably jumps Darwin in my estimation, but that's just me. I think those 4 mean you don't have to pull up McGuire. So I think that's probably what that's aimed at. Not that they don't have confidence in the 3 they have. But I will say this, if anybody should be upset about it, it should be Darwin. So let's see who's next. Pie Dessert. What are all of your prospects with first round grades? I don't even have them all done yet, buddy. But I will tell you this, so far I only have 18. I'm roughly 60% of the way through of what I think will be my final board. Rodney McDuffie. Rodney, you bought you were the first one to buy the draft guide. Thanks, buddy. I'm glad you liked it. That's great. I appreciate it, and I hope that it makes sense and gives you an idea what guys are capable of. I put a lot of effort into it. I hope you guys like it. It's a labor of love. Michael Bauer, are you thinking a slot corner or more outside like in this class? Oh, or more likely in this class. I like Gladney inside. I like Darnay Holmes inside. I like Meek Robertson inside. I think there's probably more guys that can play outside, though. So, yeah. Outside of those 3, the nickels might get a little bit thin. So, I think there's more on the outside. Yeah. Terry Daly, do you think Everson Cleveland could be available at 63? I think he should be. I don't think he should be a first-round pick. He's super athletic, and I love that about him. But I don't know, man. Yeah. From what I hear, somebody's going to take him in the first. Evidently, Cleveland loves him, which I don't know if it's just the name or that sounds like a Dorsey move to me, but I don't know. I feel like Cleveland is more on track with analytics, and I don't know if that's going to lead them towards Cleveland or not, but that's the rumor. I don't know. I think he's a second-round pick at the highest. So, hey. Emmett Carter, big fan of Locked On Chiefs. Thank you. And the channel. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on Jalen Johnson out of Utah? I took him at 32 in my last mock draft because I feel like he is right up there at the top of the second tier of corners. And even that's partly a debate because you have your top 2 and then everything kind of falls apart. I'll give you guys a preview. Right now, I have Okudah, begrudgingly Henderson, Then I have Fulton and Diggs, and I can't decide, but they're way low down. They're like 30th and 32nd, like right there. And then I have Jalen Johnson at the top of the second at like 34 on my board right now. I've only done like 2 games on each of them. So I have at least 2 games on each of them to finish. And cornerback will be one of the priority positions that I give. I don't get to watch a whole lot of tape every year. I get to hone in on guys based on other input because I just don't have the time to do a full draft class. So I pick 5 positions every year that I really hone in on. And the rest, I take a look at guys that will be available where the Chiefs are picking according to guys like Dane Brugler and Eric Gallico and the names that I trust, including some of the guys that you guys are familiar with. So corners will definitely be on my list. And I think Jalen Johnson may end up jumping Diggs for sure and maybe pushing Fulton. So that's something to keep in mind. Nathan Altick, how are you? What are your thoughts on drafting Zach Moss out of Utah in the 3rd, pending us drafting a CB and a linebacker in the 1st and 2nd? I'm not huge on Moss. I want more explosion. I want more breakaway speed. I think he's a good back, and I could live with it. I wouldn't be like super upset, but I personally wouldn't do it. I think there are other backs that I'd be more interested in later down for value that will give you kind of a similar production, in my opinion. Just my thoughts. William Simpson, if we take a wide receiver, who would it be and in what round? I think the earliest you're going to see a wide receiver for the Chiefs would be 2nd, and I really don't think it'll be until 3rd or after. Right now with Sammy back in the groove, like we were talking about earlier, you got Pringle there that's the 5 behind DeMarcus in the top 3. And then you're pushing just to make the 6th to get on the roster. You got to play special teams. So I don't think they're going to make a huge investment in the position. But that's just me. Steve Concepcion, who do you think the Jets will draft as a backup to Mahomes? They won't. They're done. They have Henny as the backup. They have Shermer and Jordan Ta'amu that they signed 2 weeks ago as the guys fighting for the 3rd. So I think they have the 4 QBs they're going to take into camp. Will Morgan, let's be real. I know you say you're more of an analyst than a fan, but did you cry after the Super Bowl? I sure did. No, I didn't cry. I was actually pretty mellow. My wife was giving me a bunch of crap about it because I don't get that fired up for a fan. Like I was relieved. I felt really good for the personnel department and the coaching staff. Like that's how I felt like. But don't get me wrong. I was happy. I didn't cry, though. I'm glad you did, Will. Since the coronavirus happened and the NFL teams can't do full reports on the athletes, do you think it will benefit the Chiefs that the teams will want to move up to get 32? Excuse me. Yeah, Ligo, I do think that. And I think the 5th-year option helps a lot, like I said before, but I do feel like not having full evaluations on guys definitely makes people more apt to move around on guys that they do feel strongly about. So I think there's opportunity there. Let's see. Scrolling. Guys, remember, throw some question marks at the front of your question. Mr. Gooch, people sleep on the Watts kid has a nose for the ball. Yes, he does. He definitely does. Playing deep is something of a different animal, though. You have to guard deep. You have to understand route combinations, and you have to understand where a guy's going to be, not where a guy is. And that's the difference. I think Watts definitely does have a nose for the ball, and I just feel like he's got to calm himself down a bit and be more disciplined in his angles in order to protect the deep part of the field, especially if he's the free safety and not Warren Thornhill. I think in a cover 2 where he's covered half the field, I'm much more comfortable. Danny Staub, what's your go-to draft day snack? My wife rocks, so she will make me cinnamon rolls in the morning, and I will get coffee and cinnamon rolls until, well, I'm talking about Friday and Saturday, until probably, I drink coffee until like 10 o'clock at night though, guys. So, and then I switch over to beer. There's always that point in the day where it goes from caffeine to beer. So, But that's my go-to snack. Her cinnamon rolls rock. And then I usually have to have a salad after that. She's good about that too. Let's see. Robert Lane, would you take a haul of draft picks for Jones, like Miami's 46 this year, next year, and trade the 30? That's a tough one. That's probably good value in terms of relativity. But that means that you're not drafting until 60 or 56 in this scenario, or 46. That's a long ways back. I guess it really depends on where you have guys graded out. So if you have clusters where you're comfortable with that, I can live with it because you're getting good capital back to make more selections in a draft where you only have 5 selections. So, yeah, I think I could live with that, Robert. Nathan Altick, how many Chiefs fit Breland into the cap, knowing that they needed roughly $5 million for the draft picks? Well, they did it because they could. Now they have to fix another problem. Now they're under 2 right now because they signed the punter, Breland, and Ricky Seals-Jones. So you cut a few more things out of that. So you still have to do something with Chris one way or the other, or you have to cut somebody. LDT would probably be the next likely scenario because I think he's due to make 8 in his cap number this year. Chandler Cochran, at what round do you think that they will address O-line if we do it all? They definitely will, and I think they'll do it in the first 3 rounds. I don't think they're going to do it with 32, but I do think that 63 is definitely viable, and somewhere on day 3, they will definitely pick an offensive lineman. Nathan Altick, what are your thoughts on Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken? You are correct, sir. It is Texas Tech. He's undersized. He's speedy. He wasn't that productive. For all that speed and coverage, he doesn't get his hands on balls. He doesn't take the ball away very much. I want to say in the production grades, hang on, I have it right here. I just have to pull it up. I want to say he was dead last. That's the problem. So, yeah, let's reorder that for Hawk rate. And yes, he was 41st amongst the linebacker class in Hawk rate, which is my metric on takeaways and PBUs. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't believe he did have 2 interceptions, 6 PBUs in 46 games, 2,400 snaps. So yeah, that's not a very good rate. It's actually statistically above 0, but when you take it all the way down against the snap count, it's really, really low. So while I think he can cover, I don't think he can stop passes very well. And I think that's really kind of the name of the game at the NFL level. I think that's the difference from going from college covered linebacker to the NFL. Great question, though. Aaron Morrow, do you take Willie Gay Jr. at all? I personally probably would not. I am really debating even having him on my draft board. But I know other teams will, and I think the Chiefs are more apt to take guys that have some off-field stuff. I hear that he's trying to mend his reputation quite a bit in his Zoom calls and stuff with teams. So, if you feel like he's past that, I mean, he showed up to the combine. He didn't miss any drills from what I heard. I mean, he was serious about that. So if he can be serious about the rest, maybe. But with Tyreek, I mean, off the field issues is just not something this team needs. So I don't know that they'll put him on the board, and I might take him off of mine. Good question, Aaron. Cole Killer. Next season, when the roster expands to 55, which position group do you see expanded? The defensive line is my thought. Right now, they have the standard power type defensive ends. They have 1 run plugger in Noddy. 2 with Pennell. And then you got to get more pass rush defensive tackles, especially if you move on from Chris Jones, if you trade him, or he won't come to a contract and he plays under the tag for a year, you're going to lose him next year then. So in that case, I'd want more pass rushing defensive tackles on the interior so I could rotate them. That's what I would do. But then again, you always need corners. Let's see. Next question is, Rob Mulligan. Okay, all that said, who you got at 32? I think that Queen's going to fall. And so I think it's going to come down to Queen or Jalen Johnson is the way I'm feeling right now. Okay. Michael Juden, with what high ceiling but low draft grade prospects, injury, small school experience, are diamonds in the rough? Man, there's a bunch of them. I'll tell you one that immediately comes to mind, and that is a guy that I think could be very good if he gets in the right system. The Chiefs system would probably work well for him. That's Colby Parkinson, the tight end from Stanford. Not super high ceiling, but definitely is a guy that I've seen make plays on film. He's okay as an athlete. I think Yelder's probably the better athlete, but we're talking about the third tight end at that point. So there's one guy to keep an eye on. Diamonds in the rough. Man, I know there are two linemen that I was looking at that I was feeling just like that about them. I think Ben Barch is one, comes from a small school. He literally had, yes, he did, the best clean pocket percentage in the draft guide. He allowed the fewest pressures of any offensive lineman in this draft. Definitely a small school guy to look at. Where'd the other one go? I think it might be Danny Pinter, if I'm not mistaken, from Ball State, another small school guy. He's not small. He's like 6'4", but there's two other guys. There's some small school options. Chris Anderson, thoughts on Clavian K. Levon. Sorry, I keep saying Clavian. Chasen. LSU edge guy. I feel like he's probably best as a stand-up linebacker rather than a 4-3 D end. I like his bend. He plays okay with power. I don't see a ton of bend around the edge, but like there's enough. He does have some good hand work at times. I just don't see it. He feels undersized. He feels like his arms aren't long enough for me to play at the NFL level. I think he wants to be Von Miller, but he doesn't have that much talent, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at on him. Pono Kwai, how are you? Can't we trade Chris for a good edge and an extra draft pick? Lots of teams need Chris. Possibly. I don't think anybody wants to give up another player for him, though. I mean, right now, everybody's trying to adapt their defenses to offenses that are trying to get better to keep up with Pat Mahomes. Like, the entire league is trying to make their offensive more explosive in order to score points. So that's making every defense have to concentrate on pass rush. So getting a decent edge rusher is not going to happen, I don't think. So you got to grow them, man. There are no buying them. No cheap way out. Oh, Will Mockin, you're a Boise native. I like that. One of my best friends went to Boise State. Two guys that I played high school ball with. So, yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. Thomas Passwater, thank you for your super chat. With this draft, do you see more teams reaching for players? No, actually, I don't. I see more teams either trading out or not taking chances at all. Taking maybe guys at positions that they don't necessarily need because they are confident in their grade value, and they don't want to take chances because the guys that are chances that you really need to do more work on are the guys that you haven't been able to get in. So that's kind of, I think it slows reaching down, to tell you the truth. Jeremy Green, you think that all the talk about the Patriots going for Tua works out if somehow he drops to 15? Possibly. I think that could, and that would, fit earlier what I was saying about Jalen Hertz. Like, Tua's an option there, like he can run as well. But I still feel like Jalen Hertz is the guy that somebody's going to trade around for. Maybe that'll be Belichick. I don't know. See, Concepcion, who's your biggest draft crush? That's tough for me because I don't really get draft crushes. I'm one of those guys, like, I need to be more positive in my evaluations because the first thing that I see on film is what a guy can't do or what he isn't doing well enough. I'm always taken by athleticism because, like Tyreek Hill has proven again and again, there are some things you just can't coach. So there are things that I like. Obviously, Isaiah Simmons is a great athlete. So is Henry Ruggs. Am I sure that both of them are going to live up to the hype that they've been getting? Not necessarily. Also, like, I want to like Mekhi Becton, the huge tackle. I just don't know if it's going to work out. I like the concept of him. Okay, here's a draft crush at corner. I like Tony Pride, is it? Tony Pride from Notre Dame. Aggressive, can play man, can play zone, doesn't get tied up in knots about who he's playing, just goes out there and does his job. Loved his Senior Bowl performance, and that carries a lot of weight for me. So I'd say I like him. And the plus is he's probably going to be available in the third, if not the fourth. So I'm down with that. Brian Gooch, thank you. With Brady gone, does the AFC officially go through 15? He's the man to beat. Absolutely, Mr. Gooch. Thank you again for the super chat. This is Pat Mahomes' league. He is the guy everyone has to beat until they prove they can do it. And then he'll adapt and he'll get another weapon and he'll do something else. So, yeah, it's him all day long until somebody proves that they have a better team to beat him. Watch out for the Ravens, I'm just saying. Testicular Tactics, how are you? Be honest. Where would you rank Veach out of 32 GMs? Whew, that's a good question. You can't argue with the success Bill Belichick has had, so he's below him. Chris Ballard is proven to be one of the best GMs, not only currently, but in the last 20 years. So definitely behind him. And it's funny that Veach and him are friends. I was just talking with Matt Derrick about that today. I like what Bean's doing. I think you can't take anything away from John Schneider. I would probably put Veach over Bean, though, now that I think of it. So there he's at 5. I will surprise you with this one. John Lynch has done a much, much better job than I expected him to. I thought it was crazy to go from a player to an announcer to a GM without scouting, without that reference. I'm a little surprised by that. So I would put him on par with Veach, if not a touch ahead right now. Again, both of them have a really small sample size. I think Mike Mayock's pushing it up there. And you got to remember that Mayock's in a similar situation with Veach in that it's not just Mayock making the decisions and here's your team to go try to win with. Andy Reid is right in the hip pocket of Brett Veach, or the opposite. Same with Mayock and Gruden. So it is kind of a team aspect. Man, who else? I think Dimitrov's good. I think he gets a little carried away at times, but I'd probably still put him in the upper echelon, probably a touch ahead. I mean, you can give Colbert a lot of credit in Pittsburgh. I don't know why you wouldn't. Man, there's a lot. I'd probably put Veach right now 12, something like that. That's my honest opinion. Great question, Tactics. I appreciate that. Make me think. Did T. Cecil retire? Is he coming back? He's out there floating. I expect him to sign a one-day contract with the Ravens and retire soon, though. That's just what I think. I don't have any inside info on that or anything. Okay, let's see. Oh, scroll too far. Where was I? There we go. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Scrolled really bad. Oh, yeah. I scrolled really bad. Holy. Okay. I got to start highlighting these better. Okay. There's the T-Sizzle question. Great. Dwight Raleigh. Anything going on with the drafts staying as planned? Yes. Right now they're doing it. They're doing it remote. Goodell announced he's going to announce from his house and just kind of go through it. Guys, I am so far behind. I'm going to hit the super chats now, and we'll come back to everything else next time. Dang. I didn't realize I was this far behind. Brian Gooch, people are saying Mahomes Lamar is the new Brady Manning. I think it's Mahomes Watson. I would agree with you, Brian. And again, thanks for the super chat. I would agree with you if Bill O'Brien wasn't doing everything he could to submarine Deshaun Watson. I am just shocked. So I think it may be Lamar and Mahomes. Yeah, Bill O'Brien's just. I had Deshaun above Mahomes in their draft class, by the way. I know you guys would hate that, so I had to let you know. All right, I'm hitting the super chats. Hang on. Gooch did another one. Who's falling in the Chiefs that could possibly draft? Don't be surprised. I think they'll like Delpit. He's going to fall. Queen will probably fall. 2 LSU guys. I think both of them are options. Who else? I wouldn't call Ruiz at 32 a fall, but man, I'm really interested to see what happens with the tackles. Could Anthony Thomas fall? Andrew Thomas, the tackle from Georgia, could he fall that far? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it, but stranger things have happened, right? Okay. Harry Mills, thank you very much, sir. I very much appreciate your comments and your opinion on this channel. Thank you for being here. I'm going to hit all the supers, and then I'll go back up, you guys. Phil James McAmis, I hope I said that right. Thank you for your super chat. Do you see any way to keep Mahomes and Jones? There is a way. It depends how much the CBA opens up, but if you can get Jones to agree to a deal that keeps him around 18 and you can stagger it, I think 18 is the magic number, because if you get 5 years at 18, you can give him enough guaranteed that it's like a $7-ish million hit. You can give him a 1 year, $1 million first year salary like they did with Frank Clarke, and then he's $8 million against the cap next year, which right now he's 16.4. So that brings him down. You have 8.4 left. He'll go up then, but it's about how much the cap goes up. You can do the same thing with Mahomes so that Jones is a year or two ahead of him in terms of when they really spike. That's going to be the key. It's definitely a tightrope to walk, and I wouldn't want to have to structure it myself, but it can be done. Great question, Phil. Aaron Smith, speed or strength for linemen on both offense and defense? Pick one. Speed. Speed kills everywhere. If a guy's faster into the A gap as a defensive lineman than the tackle, than the guard is, he wins. If the cornerback's faster than the wide receiver, he can jump routes and still recover. Speed's the key. If you have to pick one, combinations of them. Functional athleticism is what the athletic matrix is all about, you guys. Putting those combos of like, so who's got more speed and maybe his strength isn't as good, but is he better than the other guy? That's what it's all about. So I know I missed a lot of your questions. I know we're over an hour, you guys. I apologize. Just got so deep into a couple of them, I wasted too much time. I am sorry. I will try to come back and make sure I hit them all next time. Next week, next Monday, as always. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. Let me try to grab a couple because I feel really bad. Okay, I hit Gooch's. Okay, that covered that one. Dwight Raleigh, I don't even know a Gims is a first-round grade at all. I haven't looked at his film at all. David Essie, people mocking Delpit at 32. Yeah, I think that's like an outside chance. I think they might grade him a little bit more sparingly, knowing that they have Tyrann Mathieu around. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Marshall Smith, I'll ask your question some other time. I don't want to do the historical stuff tonight. I want to stay right on the draft stuff and try to get as many done. I'm just scanning through here real fast, you guys, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, Jackson Shepard, where can you find the draft analysis? It's at Rogue APC, ROGUEAPC.com. We've got the Athletic Matrix guide as well as the draft guide out there, all available. And you can hit my Twitter account as always, and I'll put a link in the show notes. DeAndre Walton. I like Ricky Seals-Jones. I liked him coming out, and I think he'll be real interesting. I think they can do some cool stuff with stacking him and Kelsey off detached from the line. I'm really interested in that. Infopocalypse, any small chance the KC re-signs Cam Irving to a league minimum deal? It's possible, but again, something's got to happen with somebody else first, namely either a cut or Jones, either a deal or a trade. Firefighter Farmer, Breland can't really go inside. He doesn't have the short area quickness to play nickel. I think Fenton can play outside and be okay, but Breland isn't the answer. That's why a draft pick like Amik Robinson or Darnay Holmes might be somebody that could. Who else? Aaron Smith, thanks for your super chat. If I didn't say that before, I know I answered the question, but okay. Other questions. Okay, Aaron, I got DeAndre's. That's great. Thank you. Okay, I think I caught up and got most of the questions, so I know we went a little over. Sorry, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats tonight. Thank all of you for being here. Check out the draft guide at rogueapc.com. Let me know what you think. There's a special code, though. If you do it, use RGR20, and you get a couple of bucks off. I think it's like 20% about. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. We'll be back Monday of a mock draft for you on Wednesday and another video Friday. So thank you again. Enjoy your night. Be safe out there. Stay healthy. And we'll see you next time.